It's a chemical industry, and it is situated in Ranipet. It is about 125 kilometers from Chennai on the Bangalore highway. And they manufacture alginate, extract alginate from seaweeds. So the raw material comes from the seaweeds like sargassum and turbinaria. They use a lot of water to wash the dry seaweed. So dry seaweed will have a lot of salt, sea salt. So the first salt that enters into this effluent is it's a salt, and this is a big lake you see here. They are maintaining the lake, and this is their facility. I think if I zoom it, this is the ETP area. So every time I zoom, I use my lab and I use the map and go there, it looks different. So they go on improving the thing that we started long back. And yes, so in the website of SNAP, and I mean, they have put up these photos, and then they mentioned that this is the only commercial phycoremediation plant to treat the acidic effluent with using microalgae. They put it there. So to tell you the success, how successful we were in the first project itself, it is still a zero liquid discharge. Now people are talking about ZLD, but we achieved ZLD 13 to 14 years back with our first project that we did in SNAP alginate. So when they brought the sample to us, we isolated some algae and then started growing in the laboratory, and some MPhil students were working, and we had a team. The entire team was working, and we used to visit the place. And this industry, they had this kind of solar evaporating ponds, because the effluent is highly acidic because they use sulfuric acid to extract alginate. So the sulfuric acid residue goes into the effluent, and it has got a lot of salt because the raw material comes from the sea. They wash the raw material with repeatedly with using the same water till the water becomes concentrated. The water comes out with 1.2 to 1.3 pH. It's highly acidic, and the TDS of around 40,000 to 70,000. It deviates between 40,000 to 70,000. It is huge, much higher than the seawater. So that kind of effluent has to be treated with, after correcting the pH, it should go to evaporation only. So at that time, the government or the pollution control board was allowing what they called as solar evaporating ponds. So each one is a pond. This pond is about 1,000 square meter. They had about 11 such ponds, evaporating about 40,000 to 50,000 liters per day, and generating around 1.5 ton of sludge every day. So that's how the project was started. And we isolated the algae, and we never had any idea about the field at all. So what we did was, I think you can see these two tanks, nearby tank. This is brownish. I mean, this is somewhat brownish green. So we started loading the algae into this tank. And then when the algae started growing, the pH started increasing to 9.5, even 10 sometimes. So we started removing off of this from here to this, and then added fresh effluent till we reached the 6.5. So initially we corrected the pH using sodium hydroxide up to 6.5 and allowed the algae to grow. And later we never added any sodium hydroxide. So the initial start was very successful. And after 1 year, what we did was we analyzed the sludge, because we are supposed to avoid sodium hydroxide or lime, whatever. And then, but rest of the sludge will be there, because 1.5 ton sludge per day is huge. We thought we should have avoided some 0.5 ton. But to our surprise, we found there was more than 88% reduction in total dissolved solids that we never expected. So then we understood algae could not only correct the pH without using sodium hydroxide, it could also remove considerable amount of TDS or dissolved salts from the effluent, even though we have been evaporating the water in these evaporating ponds for almost a year. almost a year. So with this, we thought we have developed a technology, and then we told the industry, yes, we are ready with the technology. But the industry owner told, no, no, no. This is not a technology. It's only a technique. And whatever you want to do, you have to be ready, because the transfer from initial pH increase, the growth of the alga, and then transfer to next tank, it happens in a week. In other words, you are treating every day's effluent, putting in a resting, the period of about 1 week. That is not what the timeline of industry is all about. The timeline of industry is per day, you have to, within a day, you have to treat. So then we went for a pilot. So what we did was, this is a pilot. You can see a tank here, about 4 kL, and there's a slope, and there's a very small motor would be pumping the water into this header, PVC pipe, with small holes in equal distance, and that will be flowing the water over the roof and gets collected and comes back. So this is the setup. We call it a slope tank. So this will enhance the evaporation rate and also make the entire volume of water to get exposed to sunlight, at least for a brief second when it goes through the, but it will be circulated repeatedly. So this was started with a very small pilot plant, and this was running for a year. All the season we wanted to run, and we found out that we could correct the pH within a day, and the evaporation rate was 4 times better than the still tanks. And we never added any sodium hydroxide to correct the pH, and it never ended up in any sludge. After 1 year, we scaled it up, and this is a scaled up diagram. I think this picture is clear. We have a reservoir and a slope here, and there is another header that draws water from the bottom of the reservoir, and then it flows into another slope. So this slope is around 3,000 square meter, and this slope is about 1,000 square meter. And there's a sump to collect the entire water and then return back to the header here. So this setup was set up in 2006 September. They spent about 35 lakhs to do this. So this reservoir can hold about 1,000 kL. That is almost 1 month capacity. And the slope that we have been using is 1,000 plus 3,000, about 4,000 square meter. But earlier, as I told you, the entire area was about 11,000 square meter for evaporation. Now we have reduced the area from 11,000 to 4,000 square meter. I think the video will give you an idea how, yes, we have set up. This is a slope where you have 1,000 square meter, and this is a header at the bottom, and this is the header that draws water from the bottom, and this slope on the ground level is about 3,000 square meter. So this is how we started with, but now it has changed. We have different kind of changes and advancements, and fine tuning has happened. This picture was taken very long back. And this is just to show you how the effluent actually be dark brown in color, blackish almost. But in the effluent treatment plant, it is not only the pH is 7, it is transparent and somewhat bluish, greenish brown. And this is our team, and this is the inlet that is coming. The inlet that is coming is 1.2 pH, and wherever you measure the pH, it will be 7. And this we started at 2006 September, and it is running for the last 14 years. And this is how it looks. And the entire area was used earlier as solar operating pods, is now released for other work. And this is the only area that we are using now. And this is a small lake, which is actually maintained by this company. And this is a sump. So whenever there is rain, we just pump everything into the slope tank. And this entire 4,000 square meter area works as a rainwater harvesting. And that is collected for 6 months. And 1 year, if you collect, it will come for 6 months. So this is another advantage of the slope systems. And the sludge, the only sludge that we make is algae sludge. And this algae sludge is actually made into algae compost. Plankton is a aquaculture feed, and EMI is a biofertilizer. And it has got a very good market, in fact. So the aquaculture feed, not only it becomes a feed, it also cleans the harmful cyanobacteria. So this is uh, the, the problem with in fisheries, fish tanks, aquaculture ponds is the nuisance algae. So when you use our biofertilizer, I mean the aquaculture feed, we have this species which will remove the cyanobacteria, and this will start growing. The water will become less green and more productive. And we have done the training program and in many places, and we have seen a fish becoming more healthy. So this is how it looks now. What used to be a headache for the industry, it looks like a picnic spot. And this is the only annual cost benefit. I think the last one, you can see 50 lakhs spent on caustic soda and sludge disposal. Now they don't produce any sludge, and 75% of the area is actually released. So we did, in fact, the environmental impact assessment, because for any large structure you make, you have to do it. We did that. And another important thing is, by running this facility, they are actually capturing 1,200 tons of carbon every year. So that is another advantage. And very recently, when I visited, I found solar panels on this. So they have put a solar panel on the roof, and the only motor that is running there, it is now running with the solar panel. So now this is completely green.